This session is going to consider the logical levels of learning and change and its use in modelling excellence and in coaching. By the end of this session, you'll be able to identify the logical levels of learning and change, assess the uses of logical levels in coaching, and evaluate the use of logical levels in other areas of development. This session is going to look at Dilts' logical levels of learning and change. This model owes its origins to Russell's work on logical types. He was thinking about levels of abstraction. And Bateson took this further to consider levels of learning. And to find out more about that, you may want to visit the website link on the slide. As a result of Bateson's work, Dilts was able to develop the logical levels of learning and change. The logical levels can help in many situations where change is wanted or taking place. The first level is that of the environment. That is change outside the person, the when and the where that something is done. I remember working with a manager whose office was a long way from the rest of the team, and one of the things he did to bring about change in the workplace was to move his office so it was much closer to the others. This resulted in him being consulted by the team more, and in him consulting the team more. The next level of change is that of behaviour, so changing what you do. So if you were coaching a leader in order to bring about change, let's say he or she's decided to change from having team meetings that are largely he or she delivering presentations to asking questions of the team and getting ideas from them about how to move forward. This would be an example of change at a behavioural level. The next level is that of capability. This is about how a person does something. So if you were coaching someone and as part of the coaching session the person reflected on their outcomes and decided that they would like to learn how to manage team dynamics at a meeting, then they would be looking at changing their capabilities. Then there is the level of values and beliefs. If you remember, values are what is important to us and how we evaluate what is right or wrong, and beliefs are things that we hold to be true. This level is about why. If someone changes their values and beliefs about something, then to bring about alignment they will want to change their capabilities, behaviour and the external environment. So if you're coaching someone about getting the best from their team, and they change their belief from, as a leader, I have to come up with all the answers, to, my team are resourceful and creative people who have contributions to make to the ideas and actions that we take, then the change in that belief will bring about change in the team and in everything else. The next level is identity. That is about who. This is about the sense of who we are. Coaching issues at this level will be about the person's role or sense of self. So if someone changes at identity level, it could be, for example, that they move from I am the authority to I am a facilitator. As soon as you think of yourself differently in this way, then all the levels below you are going to automatically change in order to create alignment. And lastly, there is vision. This is about how the person fits in with the rest of the system. This is about for whom or for what. Coaching issues around this level are to do with how the person contributes and fits in with the wider whole. This could be at the level of vision or spirit. It's about what the person sees as their purpose. So coaching issues in this category would be about what the person sees as their purpose in being the role that they think of themselves as taking on. For example, what is their purpose in the organisation? Or what is their purpose in life? So at each level there are different questions, and as you go up the levels, then you become more and more abstract and include more and more. At environmental level, the question is when and where. At behavioural level, the question is what. At capability level, the question is how. At values and beliefs, the question is why. And at identity, the question is who. And then lastly, at vision level, the question is for whom or for what. So these are the levels, and the thing to consider next is how do they help with modelling excellence and in coaching. In modelling excellence, it's very helpful to find out what the model is doing, being, or having at each of these levels. So if you were modelling someone who is excellent at being able to inspire their team, you'll want to find out where and when they do it, what they do when they do it, how they do it, why they do what they do, who do they consider they are, and for whom or for what do they do it. Then you may want to discover at which level is the one that makes the biggest difference to that person's performance. So logical levels can help you model out excellence and find out what is the difference that makes the difference in the way that someone does something. In coaching, the levels can help you as a coach to help the client solve problems. Albert Einstein said that you can't solve a problem at the level at which it was created. For change to be sustainable, you want to bring about change at the level of the problem or above. You'll probably find that the ones above the level of the problem will bring about the most sustainable change. So when you're coaching, you may want to ask yourself, at what level is this problem? And then look to work with the person at least at the level of the problem or levels above. And then help the person think about what they will want to do in order to bring all the other levels into alignment. I remember working with a team, and they had been charged with changing the way that they worked in a significant way. And when I spoke to them, they were concerned about a lot of things to do with the change, about how they would be able to do things that they'd been asked to do, how they could organise the way they worked, what training they would need. But the thing that struck me was the number of times I heard a comment that went along the lines of, "We've had loads of these changes, they're just fads and they never work." I knew that unless I addressed this belief, that it would make no difference how much we brought in new ways of working, new processes, how much development they got, nothing was going to change. Once that belief had been changed, and in fact in this case we established a new identity for the team, then we could start to address the levels below and think about how they wanted to change the environment, their behaviour and their capability to fit in with their new beliefs and identity. So there is an example of how the levels can help you decide at which level you want to intervene to help bring about change. Here are some questions to consider at each of the levels when it comes to bring about change. These are also very useful in planning and in outcome setting with people. So at the environmental level, you might want to ask them, what needs to change in the environment external to you or the team or the organisation? Then at the behaviour level, you might want to ask, what do you, your team or the organisation need to do differently? And at the capability level, then the question would be, what skills and abilities do you, the team or the organisation need to bring about the change? At beliefs and values level, the question may be, why should you or the team or the organisation make the change? For what purpose? At identity level, the question might be something along the lines of, who will you, the team or the organisation become when you change? And then lastly, at the vision level, the question would be, how will the change contribute to everything else beyond you, the team or the organisation. So the interesting thing about this model is that you can use it at the level of individual, you can use it at the level of team, or you can use it at the level of organisation. So here's an exercise to help you think about coaching with logical levels. First of all, write down how could you use the logical levels of learning and change when you're helping someone set outcomes. Next, how could you use logical levels when you are identifying the problem? Thirdly, how could you use logical levels when you are coaching a team? And lastly, how would you use this model to evaluate success in coaching? An example answer for question 1 could be that you could take an outcome that someone wants and start at the environmental level and ask questions about each of the levels in relation to the outcome. For example, at environmental level you could ask, for this outcome that you want, what is important about where you do this and when you do it? What things outside of yourself will be important to consider? At the behavioural level, the question might be, what will you want to do differently to achieve this outcome? What different approaches will you want to use? Then at capability level, you might want to ask, what skills and capabilities will you want to achieve this outcome? How will you get them? What skills and capabilities do you already have? How can you use them most effectively? At values and beliefs level, you could ask, what is important to you about this outcome? What beliefs do you have that will make it easier for you to achieve the outcome? What are the barriers that are currently limiting you? What are you believing now that will allow you to overcome those barriers? At identity level, you may want to ask, who will you be when you've achieved this outcome? And then at vision level, how does this outcome contribute to everything else? And for what purpose, for you, are you setting this outcome? Sometimes when I've done this with clients, I've also then, once they've got to vision level, get them to work back down again, having taken all the learnings from the other levels. And sometimes that helps hugely too. So in that case, as we've just done here, we've started at environment level and worked our way right the way up to vision. And then when they've got to vision, you can just have them think about who they will be, their beliefs and values, skills and capabilities, what they're going to do differently, and how the environment will be different. An example answer for question 2 would be to ask questions about the problem for each level to help the client discover how the problem was being created. So once again, at environmental level, when and where precisely does this problem occur? When and where does it not happen? Behavioural level, what are you doing when this problem happens? Capability, how are you doing it? What skills and capabilities would you like to acquire? Values and beliefs, what is important to you about this situation? What's important to you about solving this problem? What do you believe about yourself in relation to the problem? How well are these beliefs serving you? Identity level. Who are you when you're in this situation, and who do you want to be instead? And vision level. How is this problem affecting everything else? When thinking about question 3 and how you would use logical levels with a team, well, you can use it as a tool in a similar way as you would use it with an individual. But ask the questions of the team as a whole, and in this way help them all get aligned with outcomes, action planning, and moving forward. And then question 4 was about how logical levels could help you evaluate coaching. And really what would be helpful there is to identify ways of evaluating at all the levels. For example, what impact has the coaching had on the external environment, on the person's behaviours, on their capabilities, on the values and beliefs that they hold? What does the person, team or organisation now think that they are? How does the person, team or organisation contribute to everything else? So those sort of questions would really help you in evaluating the effectiveness of the coaching that you're doing. Here are some exercises to help you discover how to use logical levels in modelling and in coaching. Firstly, identify a skill that someone has that you would like to model. Ask the person questions to identify what is critical to their excellence at each of the logical levels. Secondly, identify a problem that you or a team or an organisation is having. At what logical level is the problem occurring? At what level would you suggest intervening to move the problem forward, and why? How would you ensure that all the levels below are in alignment? And thirdly, in what ways could you use the logical levels model outside of coaching and modelling?